Hey, welcome to drinknectar.com. I am your host, Josh Wade, and this is the internet's place to explore the five senses of coffee and wine. This morning we are once again in downtown Spokane, just east of downtown, and we're at the Lone Canary Winery. We're going to head on inside and take a peek at all of their wines, do some tasting, and get to know the owner and potentially the winemaker. It is absolutely freezing out here in the middle of winter of Spokane, so I hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you. We're inside Lone Canary down in downtown Spokane, and we're going to have an opportunity to talk with the owner, Mike Scott, and get the insight into how Lone Canary came into existence and the passion that he has for winemaking. You can see right now we're inside their tasting room in kind of an inconspicuous location just east of downtown Spokane. But as you come into this building, you really have a great experience, or a great place to experience their wine. Some art. They're open Thursday through Sunday, 12 through 5, and have live music in here on First Fridays, which is obviously the first Friday of every month. I'm sitting here with the owner and winemaker, Mike Scott. I've been talking with you for quite some time and hearing your passion for wine. And I want to make sure that comes across to the thousands, and hopefully hundreds of thousands that watch this video. But wanted to first start, you talked about your interest in winemaking and how it began. So if you share that.
Well, Josh, it began accidentally, really. I mean, basically I just needed a job back in 1980. But it wasn't long that I'd been in the industry before I realized that this industry fired up that little spark of passion that I didn't know I had within me. It was one of those very fortuitous things. And I became very interested in not only, the selling aspect of wines, but more intently in how the wine was made, which means moving back into the back of the house, learning about barrels, learning about fermentation, but further still, moving out into the vineyards and learning how the fruit grows and why it grows, how it does, where it does. And so it has provided me with a great deal of interest throughout my whole career, and there's not one day that I don't look forward to coming into work and seeing what new adventures there are.
And you developed your skill through some well-known areas in town that people have.
I did, actually. I think I was very fortunate in my first position to be hired by Mike Conway, who's now the owner and winemaker out at Latah Creek. And I've known Mike now for the best part of 30 years, and he has always been a very generous and patient teacher. And I learned very much from him about how to make wines in a style that expressed the fruit, because it is the fruit that makes my wines different from everybody else's. Other winemakers can go out and buy the same barrels that I buy, but nobody gets the same fruit that I get.
The whole history since it was
2002, we came up with the concept of Lone Canary, but we didn't actually get opened until the middle of '03.
And where did the name come from?
Lone Canary came to us, it's funny how most things in my life seem to happen by accident. And Lone Canary happened by accident, because when we were looking for a name for our winery, we wanted the name to meet two criteria. One, that it be all about Washington State, and one, that it be memorable. And so to get inspiration for a name, we got onto the official state website, where we discovered that the state bird is the American goldfinch, nicknamed, it said, Wild Canary. So we thought, Wild Canary, that would lend itself to some great graphics, and be a very memorable name. And so we researched the name. Nobody was using it, so we hired a design company, came up with the logo, came up with the design, came up with the labels, things like that, and then we got sued by Wild Turkey.
Wild Turkey.
Wild Turkey claimed that they own the word wild when it's used with a bird on an alcoholic beverage. Now, whether that's a stretch or not, we don't know, but we were at that point running out of money and running out of time, so we thought that the best thing to do would be to change our name slightly. and so we became.
We talked about a lot of the wines, and you do, produce. If you can pan over there and show them some of the other items that you have. You have a lot of different varietals of wine that you do produce. The one you spoke in particular passion about was your
Syrah,
okay.
the 2007 vintage, and believe me, that claim doesn't surprise anybody anywhere near as much as it surprises me, because up until the 2007 vintage, I must admit I'd been somewhat skeptical of making Washington State Syrah, because it had been my opinion up till that point that many of the Syrahs that were out on the market were, in my opinion and to my palate, a little too overblown, overripe and over-oaked, and I was concerned that that was probably all we could do here. I received a phone call from somebody to say that they'd got a little bit of Syrah fruit left over. Did I want any? It was one of those, I don't know. I mean, it's Syrah, and I know that all of these thousands of people listening to this are probably doing the same thing. Oh, great, it's a Syrah. And so it was with this in mind that I did go and I did go and taste the fruit as it hung on the vines, and it was one of, again, those accidental moments where I could see how this Syrah from this particular vineyard would provide us with a wine that could show what I felt was the quintessential Syrah, which is to show. So this is 100% Syrah, and you can see by the color that the extraction was good as far as color goes. And the extraction as far as fruit goes is really nice. The 07 vintage, if you recall, was a slightly cooler vintage, so we got lovely hang time on the fruit and lost none of the acids.
There's a lot of excitement out there about the 07 vintage.
Yeah. And so all of these things came together really to provide us with this wine, which
give it a sniff and see what we come up with.
So you see, in the nose, it really is all sort of, lovely, soft, ripe berries. Lots of blackberry, I think.
Yes.
Ripe blackberry, which I think is.
There's a little bit of hint of spice kind of on the back of that too. Mm-hmm. So you get the fruit in the very, very front, but you get the spice there too.
Yeah, it's not one of those fruit bomb Syrahs.
No.
The fruit's there and it's
right.
well expressed, but it's not the only thing that's there.
Mm-hmm.
There is.
Oh, that's very nice.
And I think you see what I mean about the elegance and the gracefulness
mm-hmm.
of the palate. I mean, the wine really shows itself, I believe, in really when it hits the sort of mid palate and then into the finish, because while the acid's very nice and bright and keeps everything focused, there's this softness,
mm-hmm.
there's this almost voluptuousness to the
something there's
fruit.
a floral piece that kind of came out.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah. I'm also
cool.
happy to report that it's only 13.5% alcohol, so it's not going to wear you out either.
Right, absolutely. Well, this is an amazing wine that you have here, and you said about 40 cases.
I only got about 40 cases left now. We only made about 148 anyway, and so we're moving through it, and I hope I can have the 08 ready to come on right behind it.
Well, at $22 a bottle, or $21.95 a bottle, it really is a great value. Well, I do want to thank you for your time. It's been quite an adventure speaking with you over the last 20 minutes to an hour, or however long it's been. And I encourage everyone to come down here and experience their tasting room. Life is always meant to be enjoyed with friends, so I would encourage you to drink happy.
Cheers.
Hit the button.